Okay, let's see if we can do this. This is James Morris. It's Monday morning's edition, and our PA system is not right this morning. So I got Frank Sundram on here. Frank, or can you hear me this morning?
Yes, I can.
All right, you sound good. Let's see, maybe we can pull this off. All right, I was sitting here thinking about what people on cars and computers. When I talk to people about cars and computers all the time, they think the computer gives power to everything. And I tell them, I said, really, believe it or not, the computer, only thing it really does, it gives grounds. Its job is to give grounds and make sure it has ground pass. It doesn't really give power. All the power that's going to all the, like the injectors and the coils and all that, that's controlled by relays, and the computer just gives grounds to in like pulse width modulations to open and close them under certain frequencies, or to turn them off or to turn them on. They don't carry a lot of load. They just supply ground pass. And that was just one of the things I wanted to bring forth, because people ask me all the time, what's the purpose of computers? How do they work? You know, why are they so expensive? And I just want to get that out there. And is there anything on your mind this morning before we go any further?
Well, we should talk computers actually and all that. And when the second generation of computers came out that really did the whole thing, OBD1, onboard diagnostic one, that generation of computers was made with a batch of capacitors that are all now starting to leak.
Oh, of course, yes. Yeah, that goes without saying. OBD1. Remember, last year OBD1 was 95. That was the last year. So we're talking about 22, 23-year-old cars out there, the last ones, and they're still on the road. They still are. They still are out there.
My Lexus is one of them.
Yeah. Now you've got a 91 or 2 Lexus. Mm-hmm. Well, and I'm glad you brought that out. You said the capacitors. The biggest thing that destroys the OBD1 computers from years and years ago was taking too much, say something shorted out, like a coil went to ground, or an injector shorted and went to ground. Those are the only things that I knew would kill computers years ago, or people leaving the key on and plugging and unplugging things like injectors, coils, those 12-volt sensors or output controls that are powered by the computer, not powered, but give grounds. And that's the only reasons I know that it'll blow computers. But a lot of people, even in my business here, I see people wanting to unplug and plug things back in with the key on. And I always say, no, you can unplug, but do not plug back in. You know, you're allowed to unplug, just don't plug it back in. Now, in your 92 Lexus, the last problem you had with it was running poorly, and because you have coils over each spark plug. Is that the one you have, or you got?
No, these have 2 banks.
Okay.
And coils per bank.
Okay.
One of the coils went bad.
Ah.
You know, Jim, as we talk about the magic of electricity,
Mm-hmm.
coil and all that, we should remind folks that volts flow from negative to positive. When computers do the grounding, they're really not just sitting there watching the work take place. They are actively doing the
Oh,
work and grounding signals.
absolutely.
So when bad things happen.
That is so true. And I see, when I try to explain to people that electricity goes from negative to positive, they say, well, I don't understand that. And I said, well, if you ever watch a lightning strike, you know, one from, you know, in slow motion, you'll see a trailer coming from the earth up before and meeting the lightning bolt. So that's what I'm talking about. Electricity goes from negative to positive. And about years ago, you used to drive British cars. They were all positive ground, were they not? Back in the 50s, they were all positive ground, because when the engineers put cars together early, they said, well, electricity goes from negative to positive, so we're going to have a positive ground. We're going to have the starter where it's positive ground. We're going to have the lights where it's positive ground. And it worked because it was a DC motor quite well. Now, people say, well, can you go the other way? Yeah, you can, but you create more resistance, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not an electrical engineer, But that's the biggest thing, is electricity goes from negative to positive in a natural flow of things. And computers, the number one job of a computer out there, just in case you want to know what it is to save the catalytic converter. That's its number one job. If its job is to make sure that catalytic converter stays alive throughout the life of the car. Catalytic converters will last forever, really. They honestly will. I've seen catalytic converters 400,000 miles, even more, in the original one. What kills them is they get poisoned by people running them with misfires, or they put the wrong type of fuel in it, or they put the wrong kind of oil in it, or they run a car with a bad fuel pump. A bad fuel pump will actually cause a catalytic converter to get where it's supposed to be nice and hot, then all of a sudden starve it for fuel, and it starts getting hotter and hotter, and then all of a sudden it throws more fuel in there, and it's just like throwing alcohol on an old flame, man. It will boom. It'll turn that catalytic converter into a chicken McNugget. It will melt it down. And that's the number one job of a car's computer, is to save the catalytic converter. And once you get that, when I get that through my employees, that's its number one job, it really looks quite easy, because you see what it's trying to do. It's giving the fuel to the engine if something goes wrong, not to overwork the catalytic converter. And I just wanted to pass that on to you, Frank, about the number one rule that I was taught back in the 80s of the catalytic converter, of the car's computer. What its job is to do is to save the catalytic converter of the car's computer. Just wanted to pass that on. Yes, yes.
What I learned about British cars was the first thing you do when you buy one is you get there and you start cleaning every brown coat, the new one having a coating it with a light coat of Vaseline.
You know, you're right. You're absolutely right. That did seem to be the major thing. You know, grounds were a big problem, even back in the 60s and 70s on these things. Oh, yeah, sound got much better, Anna Marie. Whatever you did just made a big difference. Thank you so much. She just hit the right button on the soundboard. It sounds much better now. Are you still there, Frank? We didn't lose you, did we?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, there you go. It sounds a little different, but yeah, we still got you there. But we had a problem with soundboard. I don't know what happened. Cat walked on the soundboard or something this morning. But things are sounding a little better. But catalytic converters and computers have been, since 1982 was the first year that American passenger cars had computers on them from the factory, starting in 1982. And by 1986, we'd gotten rid of carburetors just about on every car out there, with the exception of, I think, one or two. I think the Cadillac had the Fleetwood had a carburetor on it till 90. Oh, I want to say, 87. 87 was the last year for Cadillacs. But after that, everything went fuel injected. And if it wasn't for fuel injection, we wouldn't be getting the mileage we're getting today on cars. We really wouldn't be getting the mileage. It makes that big a difference. And you remember, if you got a car back in the 70s that got 30 miles to a gallon, it was a dinky little four-cylinder. Now we get V8s that get almost 30 miles to a gallon on the highway, thanks to cars' computers. You still there, Frank? I think.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's breaking up. There we go.
I know it's probably breaking up. It's Monday morning, and I got Scott Hobbs calling. That's why. But yeah, it's just the things out there. I just want to let people understand. Even if you get a brand new part, I had to buy a computer, a factory rebuilt computer for a car, because the car wouldn't start. I got the computer in. The car will start fine now. It does a great job of running. Unfortunately, I have a check engine light that comes on the second key start, and I have to send that computer back because that computer is defective and it will not run the EGR circuit. And if you don't run the EGR circuit, you can destroy the catalytic converter. So that's why I'm going with this. So many people ignore a system like the EGR, and they'll ignore it, saying, well, I don't need that EGR valve. But when they do, they ruin the catalytic converter, because that EGR cannot run its system readiness monitoring tests. And the next thing you know, you're ending up buying $1,000 worth of catalytic converters to keep that check engine light off. And that's one of the things that I want. You know, grounds are important, catalytic converters are important, computers are important. All these things work together. And like you said, electricity goes from negative to positive. And you know, and grounds are very, very important. I see people all the time putting temporary battery cable ends on. I think you and I have talked about that, Frank. Those are for temporary use only, and a lot of people just don't realize what kind of problems they do cause over a period of time, you know, on the car up there. So that's just something we want to bring to customers. If you're watching this and wondering what we're talking about, is if you've got a car and you're having problems and you really can't quite figure out what's wrong with them, always start at the terminals, on the battery terminals. Make sure they're good, clean, and tight. Make sure they're not temporary battery cable ends, the ones you cut off and screw back on with you know, that's not what you want, because they can cause problems down the line a lot faster and a lot quicker than you think. So make sure you have good battery terminals on there, and make sure you have good grounds and good powers to anything that you're trying to change. That's just something I wanted to bring out to people. Anything you want to add to this, Frank? We got about another minute and a half.
Well,
go ahead.
We should just box the circle, as it were, by pointing out that these are not standalone components.
No.
It's a system. One thing relies on the other, and everything feeds itself back. So you can't change one thing or eliminate one thing without it having some drastic effect on something else up or down the road.
Absolutely. Cars are what we call a computer access network together. They're CAN systems nowadays. Starting in 2008, just about every car now is a CAN system. And what I like about the CAN systems, if you got all these computers tied into one, and when you go to it, say you got a problem with the transmission, you don't know you have a problem with the transmission. When you go to the engine, it'll tell, hey, that transmission computer's got a problem. You need to check it out. Or you've got a problem with your body control module, or you've got a problem with your GEM module, or you've got a problem with your anti-lock brake module. All those things will tell when you just go to one scanner, one computer, to say, hey, I am the powertrain control management, the car's computer, but I see a problem in the BCM, I see a problem in the ECM, I see a problem in the TCM, and that's what's kind of nice. It's kind of nice to have all those eyes looking for me, because years ago when you and I first got in this business, the only eyes looking at a car were ours. You know, there was no other mechanic. Yep. And now we have computers that are so much quicker and smarter, and well, they're able to hold that information, so we're able to pull that information out, look at it, review it, and either discard it or change it, reprogram it, replace it, whatever we're allowed to do. And things have gotten so much more better. And, you know, people ask me all the time, don't you wish they make cars like they used to? And I say, thank God they don't. I mean, they're so much better than they used to be. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to bring that out. And I got Scott Hobbs calling on here, and we're going to be getting him. He's been waiting patiently. We got a little behind schedule today because of our problem on our broadcast recording here. But anyway, Frank, I know I'm going to give you 30 seconds to finish off. What would you like to tell people? Because I've been doing all the talking today because I think my headphones are all messed up.
Well, you're doing fine. It's just that, yes, cars are made so much better than they were. I just remember how flimsy the cars were and how poorly engineered they are compared to the way they are today, and how solid and how safe they are. My goodness, people are walking away from 60, 70 mile an hour crashes these days.
Absolutely.
As opposed to when you and I, a car got tapped and the thing would explode. They weren't safe in the junkyard.
Now, don't be picking on the Ford Pinto or the Chevy Corvair. But yeah, these are absolutely, these things have gotten a lot better over the last 50 years that I've been in business now, over almost 40 years, almost 50 years working on cars. Anyway, this is James Morris. I thank you, Frank, for being on here. As Frank Sundram, NPR celebrity that he is, from National Public Radio, and we look forward to talking to you again this week. If you can, give me a call Wednesday. What time do you normally call on Wednesday? Wednesday at you call it 6 o'clock on Wednesday, don't you, Frank?
See you then.
I'll see you then. All right, talk to you later.
If you want the best deal in town for tires, you need to call Baytown Tires at 873-8900.
Hanson and the guys at Baytown Tires take pride in serving Panama City for over 20 years. Baytown Tires on Highway 98 in St. Andrews. All service work backed by a nationwide warranty.
Water is too powerful to fight alone. Mr. Router Plumbing. Sink, shower, and toilet emergency drain services.
All right, welcome back. Hopefully this segment's going to work correctly. Our first segment had a little scratchiness on here. I got Scott Hobbs calling all the way from Mr. Rooter Plumbing. We're running a little late today, so I appreciate him hanging on. Good morning, Scott. How are we doing today, sir? Scott, are you there?
Good morning, James.
Good.
Can you hear me okay?
I hear you now. We're having a little, I think our cat got on our keyboard, on our soundboard, and tap danced on it, because if we got buttons pushed, it should never be pushed. But anyway, what's happening at Mr. Rooter Plumbing today, sir?
Oh, we're doing great. Just busy as always, helping folks out.
Now, okay, and that's one of the things you do. People don't realize they have a problem sometimes till they go into their bathroom or their kitchen, and then it's not like you call up and well, we'll see you in a couple of weeks. You need somebody today if you have a problem. But but y'all do crisis management as well as y'all do crisis prevention. I know that most of y'all's work is most of your work crisis management. There's an emergency right now. Is that what it is? I think we're breaking up.
That's his phone.
That's your phone on that way. Well, like I said, and it's the same way in the automotive repair industry. It's a lot of crisis management rather than crisis prevention. Are you there, Scott? No, we're not. We're breaking up here. I tell you what, this is. I'm gonna have to fuss at my cat. But well, that's what.
I think I lost you, James.
There you go. I got you now. Are you back?
Yeah, I can barely hear you, James.
Well,
but I'm here.
I'm working on it, sir. What we were talking about crisis management. Does that seem to be the major thing that plumbers have to deal with? I know mechanics do. Is crisis management. Sometimes we don't see cars till they're tore up. Is that the same thing in plumbers see, as far as plumbing?
Well, I think the best way to attack the crisis management is preventative maintenance,
Yes.
pre-planning.
Yes.
Having a professional check out the plumbing system, at least on an annual basis to make sure that everything's in working order, and maybe give you a priority list of things that need to be maintained.
Mm-hmm.
That's a common thing with us is, we like to plan ahead.
What are some of the most overlooked things that people see but ignore? I mean, they know they're there, but it's kind of like your grandmother's mustache. We just don't want to talk about it. I mean,
Well,
yeah,
I would say one of the things is a water heater.
Okay.
You turn on the water and you got hot water.
Yeah.
And they don't think about that tank water heater, maybe, 15, 20 years old. And it's going to leak at some point. So folks don't think about that, until, like you said, they have an unexpected, water leak. They walk into the area and there's water everywhere, or they wake up and they can't take a warm shower. That's one of the biggest ones, I believe, is, kind of out of sight, out of mind. And I would put the septic system in the same category.
Okay, I was thinking the other day, what could someone do to find out about, to remind them that the water heaters, like maybe put the date in a Sharpie pen on the water heater when it was replaced and say should be replaced, in 8 years, and put down, expiration date, so to speak. It's kind of a rule of thumb to let
Sure,
people.
I wouldn't go any further than 10 years.
Okay.
If your water heater is 8 or 10 years old, I'd really start saving up money to replace the water heater. You can look on the most manufacturers, actually all manufacturers, in the serial number will have a date code, or some of the manufacturers like a Rheem or Rude, the first 4 digits are the month and year that it was made.
Okay.
And other manufacturers like Bradford White, you'll have to go online and find their chart to see what their codes mean. But you can see the age of your water heater in that serial number. And like I said, and like you just said, let's plan to replace it.
Well, I know that on tires, we have to replace tires. We're supposed to replace tires at 5 years old. Once tires get more than 5 years old, it's not a matter of if they're going to blow out. It's a matter of when they're going to blow out. I've had cars blow out sitting still in trunks of cars that are more than 5 years old. I've had tires blow out sitting in my shop in the middle of the night when we got it on camera, and they would just blow out. One of them blow out, and my alarm goes off, and they say, someone's trying to break into your shop. I look at the camera and go, no, I had a blowout. Yes, what happened? The tire blew out. Come to find out that tire was 9 years old. And I guess that's the same thing on water heaters. You don't think about it.
They will. They'll blow out in the middle of the night.
Well, mine blew out my tire blew out at June 17th at 11:10 p.m. in the middle of the night, sitting still, not doing anything. So water heaters will do the same thing without any warning, because they get hot, they get cold, they get hot, they get cold, they expand, they contract. Same thing that tires do, and they only have a lifespan of about 5 years for tires, but you say 8 to 10 years on water heaters. Is that correct?
That's right. And if you don't have a thermal expansion device,
yes,
a tank or a relief type valve, that,
right,
when that thermal expansion happens, it has some place to release that pressure. It's going to even shorten the life greater. You can read the manual for a water heater, and it'll specifically say it requires, for the manufacturer's warranty, it requires an expansion device.
Okay. Well, let's talk about something. We've talked about water heaters and having water heaters, and they only have a lifespan of 8 to 10 years. I've gone away from a water heater holding tank to a on-demand water heater on my home, on my in-laws' home, and 2 homes we have here. And I do not ever want to go back to a tank holding. I do not want to go back to one that holds water, because to me they were a waste of energy. I mean, it keeps a lot of energy to keep it at a certain temperature, even if you have a clock on it or a timer on it. But I use a lot less electricity by having an on-demand water heater. I think my electric bill didn't go up any, but my gas bill only went up like maybe $20 a month to make a gas. Would you recommend people to do that? To go to
I would say a tankless water heater is probably the best revolution in the water heating industry in a long time. It's going to, like you say, save electricity. It's going to save water as well. Yep. It's just a far better product. And think about the something that folks don't talk about much is you have a warm reservoir of water in a tank that's, ever how many years old, and there's all kind of stuff that can grow in that tank when you keep a certain amount of water warm all the time. And so I think just from a sanitary and cleanliness, a tankless water heater is a much better option.
Didn't you tell me that sometimes people will get smells in water heaters in their hot water? They'll turn on, smells like rotten eggs, and they don't know what to do with it. And you told me the only thing to do with it is to throw away the water heater. Is that what? Did you tell me that, or?
That's right. Sure.
I dreamed that.
No, I didn't. I dreamed often with the rental properties and vacation homes. They'll turn the power off to, obviously to save money,
yes,
and not keep that tank heating while they're away for months on end. And when they come back, they'll turn the water heater back on, and they get this horrible sulfur smell in the tank, and that's a bacteria growth in that tank. And we have attempted, over the years to flush those out, purge them with a chlorine type solution to try to sterilize them. And we just cannot get that smell out of those tanks. And we found that labor and material and time-wise, it's always just more efficient just to go ahead and change it out. So that's what we recommend now when somebody calls and they have that sulfur smell in their hot water system.
Whoa, that's what I thought I dreamed that the other day, but apparently I didn't, because we do the same thing when someone comes in and says, my radiator's leaking, I want you to fix my radiator. I just look at it, so, sir, as cheap as radiators are now, they're made out of aluminum and plastic, we're just going to change that radiator for the same amount it costs to repair it. I can replace it with a new one. And it's just about the same thing you're saying. By the time it takes to do the labor to get one where it doesn't stink, you can replace it just about for the same amount of money and have a better quality product.
That's right. And then, your business and our business,
right,
that's really the most expensive thing that we sell is our expertise.
Yeah, that's it.
So many times the parts are just a minimal part of the entire price. So it is, if we can find a solution that's better and faster, it's always going to be more beneficial to the customer.
Now, one of the things that, before I forget, one of the things that caught my attention, I was watching with my wife this weekend. They were talking about buying houses, and it was a used house, and they were going to get a home inspection. And the first thing the home inspector did, he went to the bathrooms, and every one of the bathrooms, and looked underneath the bowls to where the toilet bowls were and saw that they were both leaking, or all the bathrooms were leaking. And then he went below downstairs and he could see evidence in the ceiling where they had been leaking, not severely, but just enough. And things like that can really, if left alone, can really cause hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of damage to your house. And that's one of the reasons I want people to be calling you. And
sure. If you have plumbing upstairs, toilets, bathtubs, that you really should have the maintenance done on those items, because it can. Anytime you have a plumbing upstairs, we run into this with the condos and the townhouses out on the beach.
Yeah.
One guy 3 or 4 stories up has a problem, and guess what? Everybody below him has a problem.
Well, that's what they were showing, the importance of making sure the top floor plumbing. So if you're buying a condo, or make sure everything above you is good, because it affects you. Well, water runs downhill.
And just another caution, there are plumbing companies out there that do not have insurance that covers them to be on the second, third floor.
Oh.
That's right. So you have to make sure whoever you're hiring, their insurance policy will cover, their work in the event of a damage that could flood, several units below.
So you're
for the consumer.
So not all plumbing companies have insurance to be able to work on the second or third floor?
Right, or maybe insurance that covers above the first floor.
I had no idea.
That quite a bit.
I had no idea that there was actually insurance to cover. I know in my business I have garage keeper's liability. I don't have that kind of problem, but we make sure that we don't cause a car to catch on fire, or someone get in a wreck or get damaged or killed or whatever. But I guess the same thing, you have plumber's insurance to make sure they're certified to be able, or competent to be able to work on floors where they won't damage the property below. Is that what you're saying? In case there is damage? Is that what the insurance is for? I don't know. We probably lost Scott there. But anyway, I think that's what he was talking about, is the insurance that they have covers if there's damage on the floors below. That's what that insurance is for. Anyway, yep, Scott Hobbs has been on here. You need to give Mr. Scott Hobbs a call. He is a gentleman plumber at 763-2001. Monday through Sunday, 25 hours a day, or I shouldn't say 25. They're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Advantage plan customers have the advantage. They do have it, because you get service before anyone else does if you have the Advantage plan with Mr. Reuter. And if you don't know about the Advantage plan, give them a call and find out about it. It's worth the little bit of extra money you pay. We have it on our homes, our rentals, and it's worth it to have them come when you have a problem. Scott, thank you so much for being on here. Is there anything else you want to say, sir?
No, I just appreciate everybody giving us a call. And if you are looking to start a career, we're looking for young folks with good home training, good people skills, and mechanical abilities, and we can put them to work.
That sounds wonderful. That sounds like a plan with a future. That's what that sounds like.
Part of what I'd like to let you know is what we do and how we work our system. Basically, we've got about 700 stocking dealers scattered around the 15 counties here in the Big Bend area of the state. I run a fleet of trucks, vans, and what we call hotshot vehicles to deliver to our dealers quickly so they can help service you as fast and efficiently as they can. Provide timely and efficient service, and we're there to take care of our dealers, who in turn can take care of their customers.
Summer is here and the days are getting longer and hotter. Call James Auto Center for a free cooling system evaluation and consultation. Give us a call, 850-763-0555 today.
Fix it right, guaranteed. Beep, 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 yeah!